Hello, everybody. I'm having a great afternoon connecting not only with the east coast of Australia, but also the beautiful London town. So, Chris Bannock, really nice to have you in the house this afternoon. It's your very good morning, and we do appreciate the early rise you've had. It's 6 a.m. in London, folks, and so we're matching up with 4 p.m. here, Sydney and Melbourne. So, welcome, Chris, number one.
Great to be here.
Nice to have you. And Alex Andre is joining us from Melbourne, along with Celia Swales, our co-host today. And we're talking all things human, the human connection, about leading what matters. And Alex, it is a pleasure. And I know you have a little person to lead and keep you energized. So we'll make sure we stay to time. And hope it's a really lovely day in Melbourne today.
It is a beautiful day, Carrie and Celia and Chris. Great to be here as well. And I'm not sure who's leading who. I think my son's leading me these days, but we'll see. Great to be here.
As it should be. And Celia, leading what matters, it's going to be a great conversation today. We were really laughing before we got on, everybody. So if you're listening, please tune in to the chat. Anything, if you're listening to us, we will also have a video that goes up, but you are very, very welcome to tell us what your opinion is of how we're going to lead for the future. And today's topic is all about mindset. And we have two of the world's best global leaders in mindset with us. So without further ado, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's great to be here, Carrie and Celia. Thank you very much for inviting me. I don't think I've ever been called a worldwide expert on mindset, but I certainly have some opinions, which is great. So, so I run a community called Agency Local, and I'm actually a business coach for marketing and creative sector. And Agency Local is a community for the marketing and creative sector. And it's our aim to help marketing agencies to become better businesses and the owners to become better leaders, because I believe it's about both. It's not just about the business, it is so much about the owner or the leaders of that business. And therefore we focus on both the business elements and the human stroke mindset, because one of the biggest barriers to growth is between our ears. And certainly for sort of small marketing agency owners who tend to start out their business because they've got a passion or a training in something. I've been trained in web development. I've been trained in design, got a passion for photography. And they're really good at what they do, and they grow and they get clients. And then one day they wake up and go, oh my God, I've got a business. And the next thought is, I've never been trained in running a business. And that is the problem that myself and Agency Local are looking to solve.
And it's really great to have you on, because we know that there are a whole lot of people who are now looking at no longer working for the large organisations that they did through a variety of reasons over the last 2 years. And there's a lot of people who are going, I'm going to give business a crack. I'm actually really good. I'm an expert in these areas, and we're going to give it a crack. And that's why the mindset question is really huge at the moment, because we're already transforming into ways of doing business, of being able to earn money, support our families, our lifestyles. We're already changing the way we have done it in previous generations. So Alex, lovely to see you here as well. Now, folks, we have an Iron Man in our midst, an amazing story here and we're talking mindset. I tell you what, we probably all need an Iron Man mindset for the future. So Alex, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. Thanks, Carrie. And yeah, absolutely delighted to be here, and equally as privileged to be called a world-class leader in mindset. Topic I'm so passionate about, because I think mindset, and talk about it, but mindset is fundamental to everything, and it can make or break what we achieve in life and what we experience in life. So much so, I wrote a book, and I'll give it a little plug now, called The Power of Possibility. And I guess that, talking about a little bit about myself, that is a belief I have, in the power of possibility. And if we believe anything is possible, it opens our world to what we can achieve, and we sign up to more, and we experience more, and we go on a journey we might not have otherwise. I'm really passionate about helping women in particular run with big goals. I am a runner. I did my first marathon 13 years ago, back in 2008. And it changed my life. I didn't realize it at the time, but if I look back at all the change that happened in my life since then, that was the real starting point for it. I then went on to injure myself, but that was awesome, actually, because it helped me find a different way to run and find the joy in running again. And I took on more, including an Ironman, which was a big triathlon event, big swim, ride and run. And yeah, that led to further marathons, and also bring a little person into the world on my own. So yeah, I'm really passionate about mindset, because with the right mindset, anything is possible. And yeah, I'm particularly passionate about helping women take on big goals, big running goals in particular, because I think we're exceptionally good at doubting ourselves. And when that doubt hinders us from what we go after, no one wins. Our friends don't win, our families don't win, the world doesn't win, because we all have so much to offer and so much to give. So if I can be that kind of encouragement coach to women around taking on a marathon goal, whether it's 42Ks or whether it's a 10K, and help them get there. And once they get there, they'll realize that anything is possible, and that will open them up to this world in the workplace and the home to achieve more than they think is possible. So yeah, that's my passion, and it's awesome to be here.
Oh, Celia, I'm already feeling tired. What do you reckon?
Yeah, because it does interest me. I was just reflecting. Then I used to work in organisations, and I ended up being retrenched, and I had always said I will always work for large organisations. I will never work for myself. And the idea and being retrenched kind of opened the window to that possibility about something being different. But it took quite a big change, or a big impact, for me to actually stop and think, maybe that story in my brain is actually not serving me. And my curiosity is that required some sort of big outside impulse, or can you build that change and desire for change on the inside?
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, I'm not going to suggest that we do a marathon, but
no.
But I always believe that we all have a Kokoda. So I actually did walk the Kokoda Trail back in, for a significant birthday 13 years ago. So it's about the same time as Alex. But that was mammoth as far as I was concerned. But since then, it made all the difference when I look back on the progression. So the mindset changes through some adversity, some vulnerability, some huge impact, is basically what we're talking about for our future now. That's what. Yeah. So why does it matter so much? Why does mindset matter so much? Let's toss it around a little bit. And
I want to pick up on one thing that Celia said, and that's the the reframing, if you like. And I think one thing that COVID has done for everybody and their mindset is allowed them to question what the norm was. And I think we've just had a massive reset button for a lot of people, and that includes their home life, their work life, the balance between the two. People have got used to working remotely. They've got used to working at home. They like that flexibility. And now organizations are going, no, you got to come back in the office. No, you can't work at home 2 days a week. You've got to come back into the office. And these people are going, well, no, actually, I don't. I've worked quite happily at home for the last 8 months or whatever it is, and been far more productive and delivered a lot more. So why do I need to do that? So I think there's a lot of questioning going on back into businesses. But I also think you're right, that reset and reframing has allowed people to go, actually, there is a better life out there. Yes. I can do something different. And then leaving the corporate world to set up their own business or whatever it's interesting because you see it all the time. I have a pet name for those sort of people. They're called corporate refugees. And they leave corporate world and they leave that big soft cushion that's underneath them because they've got different departments doing the accounts, doing sales, doing the marketing, and then they got this wonderful vision of setting up their own business, and then they realize they've got all these other hats that they suddenly have to wear. So it looks rosy, and how does all that impact on the mindset? Because it's a journey, and it's a new journey for a lot of people. But having that goal, like a marathon, like an Ironman, is huge, absolutely huge. I am a 4 times London marathon runner.
So we're not the runners. These are guys.
That was a long time ago, life before children. But yeah.
Can I just jump in there also just to offer a reframing, Celia? And we're going to hijack this, as you can see, Carrie and Celia.
Absolutely.
But and it's, I think, particularly in the current environment, as you mentioned, Celia, you were retrenched, right? So that was something was done to you, and it would have been, I'm sure, a really stressful situation. What do I do now? What are the options? And that, particularly in the environment at the moment, there's a lot of stuff happening to a lot of us that is out of our control. And there's 2 ways you can see that, and that comes down to mindset. One is something is being done to me; it's out of my control. Poor me, victim mentality. And we can all be there, but it depends how long we spend there. So if you can get yourself out of that and go, okay, well, actually, what opportunity does this provide me with? It can feel far more empowering, and actually seeing impact as an opportunity as well. So what opportunities does it provide you with? And I've heard of this term before, which I just love, and it's about life happening for us, not to us. So if you see something as something that actually is, even though it might feel really hard and crap at the time, potentially, if there's going to be something else better at the end of it at some point, and you can see the gift in it, it's such a more empowering and progressive way of growth to see something. So yeah, if I can offer that sort of reframing as well, because I think a lot of people can be in that boat at any point in life, but also in that boat. If you look at something having an impact on you, if you see it, what opportunities does this provide me with that I might not have had otherwise?
And it is interesting because I had a career in HR, so I did make a lot of people's roles redundant. And invariably, when I meet up with them again, they say that was the best thing that ever happened to me. But not in the moment.
There's a gift and opportunity in everything, and I think that's such a positive way to look at life, and having a positive mindset is a shift that people have to make. And it starts off with, I love that expression, that life is for us and not to us. And I think that's also because we beat ourselves up about things when things happen to us. We go into victim mode. Oh God, why me, and all the rest of it. But there's the an adage of if you put your hand on the stove and it hurts, what do? You don't leave it there, do you? And that's what we're doing a lot of time. If we don't look for that opportunity, if we don't do that, we're leaving our hand on the stove.
I'm just thinking about what we're hearing from people and observing. So, Chris, you're based in London. huge population compared to say, Sydney or Melbourne, our experience here. But we're all talking to people all the day, all during every week, and we're listening to what's being said. And there are a lot of people who have a fairly healthy outlook on the future. And there are others who don't have what I would call a really quite a pessimistic and low mood around what they think the future is going to hold. But yeah, it's a variety of conversations, but we're based in an economic model. We do have to earn some money for the work that we do. And so, the opportunities that are way ahead of us that we haven't even realised, that, the jobs that are going to be provided for people to do in 2030 haven't even been thought of probably. But I know that the rate of technological influence and AI, for example, and technology is changing the way that we're actually doing business as well, and how we're connecting. And thank heavens we've got this facility to connect with each other. But I mean, what else are we seeing and hearing that sort of goes to this? How do we reset the button? And what things have you been doing yourself that have now changed the way you show up each day, the way you do business? Any thoughts on that?
I'll go. Will I go, Chris?
Yeah, go on, off you go.
Sure. Yeah, a couple of things. I think as individuals, I think we need to make choices for what's helpful for us. And I agree, Carrie. There's a lot of different views and opinions, and people at different spots. And I dip in and out of listening to that and trying to just shut off to it. And my son and I being in our own little bubble and just turning off the news and not watching it, because more often than not, it's not helpful. And if I can do things that help get me in the strongest mindset and best place I can be, and if shutting off some of that noise without being naive to it all, but if getting caught up in all of that isn't helpful, and then I choose to switch off to it at times, because I can't help the people I'm going to help and want to inspire if I'm in a negative kind of sort of circle, I suppose. So I think making choices around what really helps you in terms of where you're at, I think, is a good way to go. And I think, I'm a big goal person, as, we've sort of spoken about a little bit, but I think now more than ever, having big goals, big personal goals, and workplaces actually supporting their employees in going after those personal goals couldn't be more important than ever, to be honest, because it's those big goals that give us that purpose, that give us that kind of direction and that focus and something positive to strive towards. And it's those big goals that I think we can grow and learn in ways we might not have otherwise. And particularly at the moment, or perhaps, who knows when this will all come to a possible end, but particularly at the moment, it can be really challenging. If we're talking about marathons, events are cancelled and things like that. Life isn't what it was sort of 2 years ago. So having those goals means something different than what it did, in the last 2 years. So it can be more challenging to have those goals, but I think even more important. So yeah, they're the two bits for me personally. I've found doing what's helpful for you, and if shutting off some of that noise is helpful, and do that as much as you want to, and picking a goal. And it could just be a goal for the day. It doesn't, depending on where you're at, it could be it could be a goal for the day. It could be a bigger goal. You want to look towards something for next year and take on a big goal and really set yourself in motion around that. But yeah, I think goals are always key, but particularly right now.
I'm just wondering, have you got a big goal coming up? Have you got a marathon on the horizon?
Well, Melbourne's in 6 weeks, but I don't want to sort of dull or dim the what you portrayed me as, but I was puffing pretty hard trying to get 4Ks out this morning. What's that? Just to keep it real. See, it's all relative.
Sorry, I asked you that question. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I do have a couple in mind. I've got a couple of personal goals and some business goals I'm sort of toying with. But yeah, as a new mum, sort of just getting through the days and nights has been a goal in itself for a little while now. But my son's sort of 2.5 now, so I don't know how long I can be a new mum for, but it's still it still can be interesting kind of at points. So yeah.
It's still a can-do attitude. It's a mindset. Yeah. So, you know, that's the thing. What have you been noticing, Chris?
Loads of things have just popped into my head as you were talking, to be honest. Yeah. And I mean, the use of technology that you mentioned has just, you know, I mean, it's leapt us forward probably 15, 20 years. Yeah. You know, 2 years ago, would we have been sat in our little rectangular boxes having a conversation like this? No, I wouldn't have thought so. You know, so that's been great on one respect. But, you know, it's I think the whole thing sent the whole world into turmoil, to be honest. There's all sorts of things, you know, there's a lot of mental health issues because of change that's going on. And, you know, they all need addressing. You know, there's all the climate change that's going on. That all needs addressing. That's still here. That's not a result of COVID. That's been happening for a long time. You know, there's all these things that people have to cope with in their sort of daily lives as well as their business. And I think as leaders of businesses, we've sort of got an obligation to help others and to be positive and to show that leadership. You know, the problem with that is that it all becomes internal within the leader. So unless the leader has a coach or a mentor or somebody that they can share and talk with, it becomes a very, very lonely world. So, you know, everybody's been impacted one way or another. And I think it's so important to have that support mechanism, whether that be a community, whether that be somebody that you can just talk to that's not necessarily your sort of life partner or your business partner, but somebody that's, you know, agnostic, if you like, in terms of their opinions, to keep you grounded and to keep you positive, and then to start really helping other people, because that's the role of a leader, should be to help other people to cope and manage through this time.
I think that's a really important thing, because that's one of the reasons why Carrie and I were sort of wanting to focus on connection, because that connection piece is such a vital bit of our well-being. And I know, Alex, you talk about that as well when you set a goal. It's about who's your community that's going to help you have that goal. And Chris, that's your, you know, people working in their own small businesses. Your community is what keeps it alive. What role then? I mean, I'm probably answering my own question, but I think for me, the role of community in mindset is also important. Who you have around you.
Celia, I think you're spot on, because Chris was and Alex was just talking, then I just went, everyone who is in, say, business, and not just their own business, but if you're working in a big organisation, anyone who's in a leadership role usually has a network around them, and whether that's the critical friend, or whether it's actually someone they've sought out as a mentor or a coach. There'd be then professional networks that they have, and I'm just thinking, you know, more and more people who are doing what we do are actually seeking out the circle, what we'd call the big circle. And one of the things about the logo we used for Lead What Matters is that it's a constellation of stars. Basically, we're part of this magnificent universe where we are twinkling. We've all got some glitter and some twinkles, some gifts and talents, and we don't need to be selfish. We actually need to be as able to give and share our gifts and talents with everybody for the good of the village. That's how we saw it. So, I mean, I would be astonished if there's one person that I know who doesn't have someone that they connect to that will give them, come on, Carrie, pick your socks up, to come on, what else are we going to do here? Where else do you see this going? What do you want to aim for? So it's the community, I think, that people are belonging to.
But as Alexandra will know, it's not just having that one person. It's having, if you're a top athlete, you have a fitness coach, a mental, mindset coach. You have a left arm coach, a right arm coach. Whatever it might be, you have you surround yourself with experts within different elements of what you're trying to do, and that has to be the same.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think on that connection piece and that I think for a massive part learning that I've found on my journey is the impact we all have on each other, and we often don't realise it at the time, but if we know and realise that each of us can and do have a huge impact on each other in the conversations we have, in the help and support we can be to others. That's huge. So I think just appreciating that impact we have is really, really massive. And the other thing, that I preach but don't always practice is putting your hand up for that help. So if it's a marathon goal or whatever, it's kind of a bit clear cut in terms of the team you might recruit in different areas of expertise. But if you've got a goal or you're struggling in some way and you don't have the knowledge, and skill set in a particular area, go and find someone who does, because there will be someone that can be the most amazing help to you. That's just around the corner. So I think seeking out that help and putting your hand up for it, versus it necessarily sort of knocking, tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, I can help you with this. I think being a little bit proactive and putting your hand up and appreciating, realizing you need some help in a certain area, and then seeking it, or using your collaborative circle of stars. I love that analogy, because someone will know someone. Absolutely. And it's a powerful circle that we all, connect and intertwine with. So just really leveraging it and amplifying it in ways we can.
Yeah.
Be interesting. Oh, welcome back, Carrie, by the way. That's really interesting, because a lot of people, our sort of culture is that if you put your hand up, it's viewed as weakness, and that people don't do it because they think they're going to be judged. And I put a poll out on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, asking whether people came to sort of business events. Was it to meet people? Was it to share problems? Was it to in sales mode? And about 5% said that they went along to share problems, and that was the lowest out of everything. The fourth one was around business development, but but there was some comments in there, and people. The comments were exactly around this. People don't like to share their problems because it's viewed as as a weakness. And my comment was, well, will the perfect marketing agency please stand up? Yeah.
Oh, top. Yeah. Hooray. Here. That's exactly right. Does the perfect coach stand up? Because the coach has a coach. The coach has a coach, and that coach has a coach, and then they have their mentors. And unless you're just amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, listening to you talk is that idea that if I'm going to set a big goal and I'm going to do it because Carrie and Chris and Alex are going to help me out, that seems more possible than setting a big goal to think I've got to rise to the challenge. I've got to make it all happen. This is all on me. And that's a much lonelier place. So that mindset piece around community seems like it makes what's possible possible.
Totally. And I think we don't mistake an individual goal for the team effort it can take to get there.
Yeah.
You talk about that in your book, Alex, don't you?
I do, yeah. And people we just want to help each other, right? So yeah, but it takes providing that opportunity and putting your hand up and putting it out there for people to, like Celia, when you sign up to your marathon, I will be 150% behind you. Every day I can check in with you. Like, honestly, I'm happy. Let's do it. Melbourne Marathon next year. But people just want to help.
The gauntlet's been
what was that?
Did it here first, folks?
You're at the gym. I know that. You're doing more training than me right now.
But what does it say that the only training I turn up to is boxing?
Don't discount that, Celia. There's method in madness. I always, doesn't matter. What suits you may not suit somebody else. No.
Yeah.
You've got to go for it.
But along that, I would say, Chris, I know you want to share some on that, but the gym that I have gone to during lockdown, they gave out all of their equipment to all of us so that we could join. And that to me is like a generosity around what people's goals are. They didn't need to do that. We could have all gone down to Target and bought our own or whatever. But they actually, yeah, they did. But they were like, you've got goals and we share your goals, so we'll give you our stuff. And now they said, please give it back because we need to open.
Chris. And that also probably demonstrates passion in what they're doing as well. They're doing what they're doing to enable like health and fitness for people or whatever it may be. So that's brilliant too.
Wanted to add to that was it doesn't surprise me that people come to networking events and don't share their problems, because that's fine. But what needs to happen is that there needs to be created this safe space where they are allowed to do that. And again, that to me is a power of the community, is to be able to create that safe space where you're not judged. And it comes back to all the principles of psychological safety within a culture, within a business, which is there's so much change going on in business now that, and I think it's partly driven by this. There's all this the cultural whole agenda, if you like, that you've got to have an inclusive culture, and I think that's fantastic. But also part of that is being aware of other people and their problems within that business environment, because in some respects that is a community, and creating that right culture to be able to do that is vital.
Yeah.
None of us are perfect, are we? And in all this, we're all finding a way forward, a new situation. Hey, you might be perfect, Celia, but I'm definitely very scarred and have many fault lines. But I'm pretty okay in lots of areas. Just putting it out there. But that's, to me, the mindset that we actually have to have. We don't beat ourselves up too much, that we're still willing to have a red hot shot, as I like to say. Hashtag a red hot shot. Absolutely, you've got to give it a go. But we will find that there are steps we take and we go, whoopsie. We need just to go back and maybe try and just change that a little way. And I think that's what the people are a little bit afraid of, the future. I mean, change is happening very, very quickly. Only this week in our schools here in Sydney, they've got all the students back after, I know Melbourne's had bigger lockdowns. The rest of the world has had far different experiences as well. But within 3 days, it was already the regularity of that system of education was disrupted, because there were already kids testing positive to COVID. So the notion of going back to what we always knew is instantly being tested within days. We had to expect that. So I like to think of looking at scenarios. They can actually help us. We have to think about what if this happens. based on what we've been through, we know this is possible. So what if something else happens now? So I think that's, for me, the mindset is really critical about how I even look at, well, that could happen. So how far do you prepare yourself, or do you have other strategies in place that will help you with balancing out those feelings, that the feelings or the emotions that you'll find, because something that you had planned isn't going to happen. Something that you wanted to do now won't go, or it has to look differently. So I think the mindset is pretty strong.
I think an interesting way to look at that, Carrie, and I've certainly found that to be the case, is like you can have a rigid mindset of, and you probably wouldn't get very far in today's world, but a rigid mindset, no, this is my plan, this is what I'm doing, or you can kind of be a bit more open and flexible and adaptable to the environment around you. And these days we're being forced to adapt. And it depends how willingly and solution focused I think we do adapt. Because we're having to multiple times. I mean, I was about to drop my son at childcare the other day, and I get a text saying, we're closed, there was a case. And I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I had an appointment to go to, and it threw me in the biggest panic spin of OS, or actually my son might have dropped the F word, and I converted that to far out, he now knows. But it was such a panic of, what am I going to do now? And I had to adapt and look up a friend, ask for help, and it somehow worked out. But that was a really panicked moment for me. And I looked back at that night, and I'm like, I got through that. Well done. So I think it's having that mindset of just being open and flexible and adaptable, and finding the possibility in those things as well. That solution focused mindset, I think, is sort of key. And I think also with the what if, we don't want to scenario out. We don't want to cause worry and like weight ourselves down too much with that. So I think it's a fine balance. I think it's the flexibility, adaptability without the weight and worry, weight of too much what if bad stuff, I suppose.
I was just thinking, I didn't get it. Sorry, Chris.
I think you're really spot on there, because I think we all talk about this new norm, but what on earth is the new norm? It's whatever you want it to be in some respects. We've got the biggest opportunity ever to break off the shackles of the past, both individually and sort of collectively. And there's somebody called Thomas Power who a while ago talked about network thinking, and it's actually about having a positive mindset. And we used to live in a structure where it was all controlling and it was hierarchical, etc. And we've now moved into what he calls ORS, which is open, random, and supportive. And those three things, I think, are key to that whole positive mindset. Being open to new opportunities. As Alexandra's just brilliantly demonstrated, randomness. What's going to come left field, and how do we cope with it?
I was like, you're kidding. No, this can't happen. But as my son's eating his Weet-Bix.
But also there's the opportunity to be supportive, support yourself and others.
It's a great little model, isn't it? It's I think we all like an acronym. But we had a similar case, and I would say every family, every workplace, every small business, every organisation are looking at all those changes, how they're going to be flexible enough to actually cater for the needs of the different personalities, the different styles of learning and emotional response. So I do a micro tip every week, and did that this morning. And I usually go down out in the back of the garden. I get my shoes off, I get my feet in the grass, because it sort of anchors me. Green and nature work really well for me. So I go down the back, and of course, the builders up the road decide that they're going to soar, and the cockatoos are coming in and they're squawking like nothing on earth. So, and I'm going, do you think you could give me a break? I only want a small moment to do this. But we actually did talk about mindset and also about this notion of psychological safety. So Dr. Amy
Edmondson.
Edmondson from Harvard, she coined this notion of psychological safety because she said, you know, do we have to get everybody's voice and everybody sort of in on the plan and in the thinking? And she said, you know, it's pretty hard to do that all the time, but there are ways that you can do it. And the way is the culture that we build, that says, if you have concerns, worries, ideas, or mistakes, you are free to discuss them here. And, you know, Chris brought that up, not with his survey last week on LinkedIn. You know, only a couple of people have said, oh, look, I never discuss my mistakes at networking. That's not cool. But I actually like the notion of these circles of support, circles that actually affect our inner world and then our outer world and how we respond. And I think there's some room there to actually build some circles of trust as well as support and action, you know.
Yeah, I think the other thing around, one of the things that she talks about is celebrating exactly what you did actually, Alex, is celebrating when a good plan didn't go well. And so not when you've deliberately not followed a process or something like this in a workplace where you've just gone, stuff the process, I'm going to do it this way. But when you've actually gone, okay, I need to go out and I need to solve something, or I need to innovate, or I need to try something, that you actually celebrate that moment, even if it didn't work. And I think that's really nice, because it's, you know, one of the things that amazed me about the COVID piece is that everybody suddenly learned how to be online within a week. People were like, you're on mic, you're still going, you know, mic's not on, and all of that sort of stuff. But we learned a whole lot about, and very quickly, because we needed to. So learning to me is like one of those skills. And so celebrating, even if I've stuffed up my plan and I've, you know, it hasn't quite gone to plan, then that's worth celebrating, because I had a plan and I learned something from it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that will be more helpful to fuel future successes as well, I think. So yeah. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, it's getting over that fear of failure, and actually sort of, in some respects, celebrating failure, because it makes you stronger, and it will always lead on to something else. And I think you're right. I think, you know, what COVID has proved to us is we are such an adaptable race. You know, everybody has found ways to adapt in one way or another.
And I think it's also around that, and that's a mindset piece, is around not seeing it as a failure as well. On the surface, it might be. And I was writing a piece this morning, and I, you know, after my first marathon, I could say I failed to get to my second marathon because I injured myself for a number of years. But I didn't realize at the time how successful I was being, because I was growing and learning and finding a different way and going on a path that I never would have otherwise. And in a way, that was almost as valuable as that first marathon and succeeding at crossing the finishing line. So I think it's, and that's reframing a mindset, isn't it? So on the surface, it feels like a failure, but what are the gifts here? Like we were talking about at the start, what are the gifts here? What's the value in those setbacks? What can we learn from those things? And probably even having a culture within, you know, if we're running our own business, it's up to us to do that ourselves. But if we're leading teams and businesses, actually having a philosophy of that versus a get the stick out sort of approach, you know, like, well, actually, what have we learned here? What can we be proud of and then implement and revise for next time? Having that culture, I think, that's encouraged, you know, sort of to do that, I think is really helpful as well to a business, its performance, and also the team as well, perhaps.
Well, we've had a great conversation this afternoon, but I'm just going to ask one of the last questions, which is there something we should that should be said that hasn't been said, talking around mindset. So I know that everyone has other responsibilities. We'll all Chris is going to turn into a pumpkin if we don't let him go. I understand that. We've all got different things, but I just always have a bit of fun. But I'm just thinking, what is it that we haven't said yet about mindset, about, potential for how we're going to deal? I'm even wondering whether we stop saying post-COVID. It's going to be continue with COVID. But it's the notion, I think everyone understands what the pandemic, the influence of a huge change in health and humanity's livelihood has done for looking at the way we interact, the way we live, the way we care for each other, the way we can still learn and still look after each other. Because as far as I know, we have a lot of us who are surviving very well and those who aren't. So that mindset of care and kindness for each other and self-awareness around that, for me, has been a big change that I'm noticing around people. But is there anything else that we need to say before we say goodbye?
You go, Chris.
Just on I done a book called The Big Leap, and that is all about really trying to find your zone of genius as individuals, and that's breaking through the barriers. And that, I think, that was, I'm still sort of reflecting on it, but I think that is really important to get out of sort of your comfortable zone to something where you really excel, and actually going on that journey of discovery is really important. But you only really get there if you can get rid of those saboteurs, those voices that are in your head that are telling you you're not good enough, or all the reasons why you're going to fail as opposed to succeed. And it's creating, and you only get rid of those really if you create a positive mindset, because that is a way of actually dealing with those things which hold you back. And then you can start to really realize your potential as individuals, but also doing that to help others as well.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I love that, Chris. And I think the final thing I'd sort of say is that perhaps a practical, helpful thing for people to think about is I think mindset. One way of looking at mindset is on the spectrum of, down one end is possibility and the other end is limit. So you can have a mindset of possibility and anything is possible, dream big, or a limited kind of mindset around I can't do anything, and that taps into the negativity and things like that as well. So, and I think we're all born into the world on this end of the spectrum around anything is possible. I can achieve anything. And we have this kind of freedom and innocent fascination to give anything a go, and my son certainly does that. And then as we go through life, stuff can happen, and we learn that we can't do that, or we're told we can't do that, and we can become limited in the choices we make and the stuff we take on. And I think just reflecting on mindset as a spectrum of possibility and limits can be a really helpful thing to do, and just check in on where you're at in how you're going about your day, or the goals you take on, or the conversations you're having as well. And if you find someone's kind of limiting themselves in, if they're saying, I couldn't go for that promotion, but who am I kidding? I couldn't possibly, or Celia not thinking she can run a marathon, possibly, which you can and you will. You might if you want to, but catching other people and where they're at on that spectrum as well, and just saying, well, hang on, what if you could? What then? Because I've experienced firsthand that answer to what if I could, because I've taken on goals that logic said no, my physio said no, but I did. I'd encourage people to think about this spectrum and where you're at, and just check in and see if you can just nudge a few notches up the possibility end, because you won't regret it. It'll be a good thing to do, and holding others to account and encouraging them to move up the possibility end of the spectrum as well.
Yep,
I love that. Nudges. Oh, Celia, are you going to bring it home for
I was reflecting. In fact, I told someone that Alex and I both know, and I said I would not normally have met Alex in the world because I have a mantra of I run for no one, not even public transport. And finish.
Celia, do you have problems running a bath?
Yeah. No.
No. Oh my gosh. It's been a great afternoon. So really, listeners, if you're interested and you think that this has been a conversation that will get a spark of interest from those that you work with, whether all those members of your family, and if you've got a family like mine, what I've missed is the robust political conversations of my children, and that can be political in all spheres of life, not just politics as such, but in all core values. But if you found it interesting, pass this on. We're here to have the conversations and be informed, to stretch our thinking, to open up the mindsets for what we're used to, for what we're going to be living with and being part of. And let's be informed and have the discussion that opens up the inspiration for us. Collaborate. I love what Chris has got on his banner just behind him there. So, we really need to inspire each other because we are so fantastic. We are unique. We're magnificent. We are stars in the constellation, and we need to twinkle and spread our glimmer and our shimmer around the world when we're talking about the future. So everybody, pop onto Global Leaders Thrive Facebook page. Next Tuesday, we'll be back at 1 p.m. With another episode. We're doing a series of about 10 conversations around what really matters, the human connection. And as you can see today, we have connected across the world. Connect to collaborate. That's what we do for each other. We are far better together than alone. So thank you, everybody. Anyone like to say one last word? Because I know, Alex, you've got to go. Your little fella James is needing you.
I just like to. Well, so I like to think he's probably fine. I just like to thank you both and Chris for the conversation today. And congratulate you, Carrie and Celia, for creating a forum to have these types of discussions. It's been brilliant. It's been, I've found inspiration in it. And we have no idea who might be listening, and there might be a nugget that one of us has shared that just might have an impact on them in some way. So well done for creating these conversations, and thank you for having Chris and I on it this afternoon.
Pleasure.
And I guess the last thing that I would want to say is you can find Chris and Alex. I know they're both on LinkedIn. So if you want to reach out, talk to them, talk to either of them, jump on LinkedIn.
Well done. All right, everybody. Till next time. Have a great day, Chris. We'll see you sometime during the week when we're doing our collaboration. Alex, same to you. See you Friday afternoon. We're on. See you, Celia. And for everybody out there, look after yourselves. Your thriving matters. You are precious. Be part of the constellation. Let's get the conversation going around really giving some oomph to our mindset changes. Bye for now.